get through this episode. Who knows? Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of From the Fourth Line. My name's Emma, and I'm joined, as always, by my lovely co-host, Marcie.
Hello.
Hello. Well, we're going to do an extended podcast episode today because we have a lot that we want to talk about, a lot of big stories, and also because Monday's episode was shortened. It was due to my own schedule.
Short and sweet.
Short and sweet. Yeah. So I guess we can start with Leafs and Panthers because that game was actually fun to watch. Kind of.
Yeah.
Somewhat. We can start with Leafs and Panthers. So Samsonov gets to start for the Panthers. Bobrovsky gets to start for Florida. And then there was also no changes to the lineup since Buffalo. So whoop-de-doo-dah. I actually don't think I have the goals written down in the right order because I did not make these notes while I was watching the game. I
do have the goals written down. The Leafs goals written down?
Yeah, that's the only ones that matter because then they are all scored weirdly. I don't know. I don't care about the Panthers goals.
No.
Go ahead. Talk about the first one.
So, I'm just going to list them off because that's quite literally all I've got. And you know me, I can never remember individual goals. It's just me. The only thing I remember about when goals are scored is me tweeting frantically afterwards and losing my whole entire mind. But we had our favourite, our little guy, Nicky Bobby. And then, to absolutely no one's surprise, Austin! Shock horror. Then we have...
That was what, number 61?
Yeah, that was...
Which is really funny because is franchise record, but it's also his own record. But now every goal is him just re-breaking his own record.
It's just at what point is he just going to sit and just be he's going to score again and he's going to be fuck me. Not again.
not again.
It's oh my god, not me breaking my own record again.
I'm going to have to do another post-game media scrum.
Oh.
Anyways,
and then we had one from Little Miss Tyler Bertuzzi. And then we had one from David Camp. Hello, David goal.
I want to talk about that goal as well because of fourth line stuff.
Fourth line. And then we had a goal that I think I might have blacked out for Matthew Knight. I definitely blacked out. And then, oh my god, it's a record breaker. Another goal from Austin Matthews.
It was an empty net. It was only his second empty netter of the season, which is so funny because I was telling that I was watching that game with my parent, and I was talking about with my dad the next day. He was like, "Well, Austin got an empty netter." I was like, "Dad, it's his second one of the season."
It feels like he has more.
I do want to talk about that kid third line because they scored twice that game, and I think especially because in Monday's episode I was talking about how fun they are to watch. We spent a while talking about this kid line last episode, and I felt really, really vindicated when they scored twice. And then yes, they were on ice for 3 goals against, right? And they were all pretty obvious defensive errors made on part that allowed the Panthers to score those 3 goals in the third period. But Sheldon Keefe did say that he purposely put them out in situations that forced them to be uncomfortable and were a little bit over their head and too big of situations that he knew that they were a little bit too big for them as a line, and they didn't have that maturity just to see to give them the experience of being in those situations. And so he said that, and I'm like, okay, so then they had a real at the end of the day, then they had a really good night. Right?
Well, it was fun to watch them.
Like that it's like kind of the same thing. Like it was like the same sort of feeling that I get them when I watch like a Sabres game. Like, you know what I mean? Where it's like young guy, like, and they'll have fun out there, and you can see that they can have fun out there, and you can see sort of the difference that like them being so young brings, you know, to the
vibe.
I don't know, to the game, like sort of that. I don't want to say it factor. Like, I don't want to say, like, it's a factor, because then we're getting into, like, weird, like, Brian Reaves territory with that comment, but, like, they called it the factor, which, like, I guess so, but also at the same time, like, if you're the factor, why do you think that, and then you're like, Toronto media is, like, too much for me to handle. Anyways, I don't want to rant about that, and it's not, like, that's a whole nuanced conversation that I'm like, okay, yes, but, like, also, okay. But, yeah. Also, as well, the Nick Robertson, back-to-back games for Nicky Babby.
And it was such a good goal.
It was he was sprung by Matthew Nyes. Breakaway, nice little tuck. Just fantastic.
I watched it and I was sat there and I was like, oh my god, he's not. And then I was like,
and then
oh my god, he is.
He did! And then even the Austin Matthews goal, he was set up so nicely by TJ Brody as well. And a lot of people were like, I feel like maybe I don't know if we saved like the TJ Brody belt discourse for like after we discussed the full game, because that was a whole conversation on Twitter, because I feel like everyone feels like they own opinions to like who should get the belt. Personally, like, yes, I could see why Austin picked TJ Brody. My dark horse pick was Nick Robertson. Like, I was like, he's my like he's like my like, you know.
Yeah. No,
there was a couple. Like, you couldn't have gone wrong. Like, that's the thing, where it's like you couldn't have gone wrong with who you were going to pick for the belt in a game like that. Like, yes, at one point they were up 5-1, and they still won the game at 6-4. But like, you also have to think about like the situations that happened that led to those 3 Panthers goals, and how it was Sheldon Keefe having a coachable moment with his young guys, with the rookies. A coachable moment. Not to go all like Coach Emma philosophy on you guys, but it's a coachable it's like a moment like this where you put them in a situation, and it's like, especially at this point in the season, it's so hard to give players those moments of like, this is how you learn things, and sometimes you literally have to do trial by fire, and it turns into like a coachable moment for these players. And like, they learned, and they really did acknowledge the fact that like they like Matthew Nyes himself said, we were unstructured in those moments, and that led to those opportunities for Florida that they capitalized on, because Florida is a good hockey team, and if they're given moments, they will capitalize on them. And unfortunately, that line just doesn't have the maturity yet to know when, like, they still make those mistakes in their structure, and like, that's okay, because they're all young guys who all have time to develop in their careers.
Yeah, it was. In the wise words of me,
put that on a t-shirt.
You learn.
Put that on a t-shirt.
So true. we dropped merch. In the wise words
of me. In the wise words of me.
Shit happens.
It goes. Shit happens on the back.
No, like, it does. Like, if something doesn't go wrong for you at some point, then you're not gonna learn from it.
Exactly.
So sometimes you have to make everyone watching the game that you're 5-1 up in a little bit nervous, because then
that's the least experience. You are not a Maple Leaf if you do not provide that experience to your fans.
Exactly. Like, it's part of what being a Maple Leaf is.
It's built into the philosophy of this organization.
You legally have to at least, 82 times a season make every single person watching feel like their heart is about to explode, and like they're about to burst into tears, and like they're very, very stressed because you were 5-1 up and now you're not.
it's like that you show up for development camp at the start of the season. Like when you get drafted, you show up for development camp as like, you know, a prospect. They give you a really lovely presentation in that really nice video room that the Leafs have with those really nice theater chairs that like are large enough that like fully grown hockey men can fit into in full gear. To take a nap in one of those chairs.
I want to see us.
Like, no, that's what I want to know. Is I want to know like what like a regular sized person in regular clothes, like not in hockey gear, like looks like sitting in one of those chairs, because how large are those? It's whoever like, you know, wins that whoever wins that Joseph Wool giveaway thing that he's doing, where it's like you win like a tour of like the locker, like the Leafs facilities with him. I want you to ask him to take you to the Leafs video room, and I want you to sit in one of those chairs. Take a picture of you, a normal-sized human, sitting in one of those chairs, and send it to us. You can email it. You can email it, or you can just literally email us. Like it has to be a normal-sized person. Like you have to be a normal person. You can't be like a crazy hockey athlete, because I don't trust the scale on any of them. Unless maybe you're Nick Robertson. Like you can put like 5'9" Nick Robertson in there.
Yeah,
I just bullied him for his height. Sorry.
I'm sure he's had it before.
But like send us I just want to know, because if John Tavares can fit in those chairs in full gear, how big are those chairs? And I want to take a nap in one of them. Yes. But anyways, you sit in that video room.
It feels like it'd be like,
and they give you a presentation on the like
town, and they've got like the massive deck chairs that you can take pictures in.
Yeah,
that's what I feel like.
A giant like those. There's like one in like those massive giant like Muskoka chairs. Yeah, I have a picture of. There's like one of them like out like you go out to like Big White, and they have like a giant Muskoka chair that like you can fit like 4 people in and like still have room to like have a party.
That's exactly what I think it'd be like. That's what it'd be like if you put like Cole Caulfield in one. Sorry, Cole.
Stop.
That was mean.
I just saw a tweet where it was like a graphic from when he got drafted, and it was like his upsides, and then they were like, need to improve on, and the only thing they had lifted was size. I was like, they can't do anything about that.
Like, what are you gonna do? Just like, oh, I'll have a glass of milk every night before bed. Maybe I'll grow. Maybe it'll make my
Simon Benoit diet.
Oh my god. But I want to know what a normal sized person looks like in those chairs.
Yeah. But anyway, so they take you to that video room, your Leafs prospect, and they say, you know, so you want to be a Leaf. And it's just slide after slide of different things that happen when you're a Leaf. You know? Because you know how we're like, oh, yeah. Leafs are cursed, whatever. So it's like, if you are playing a team that has a former player on it, you have to allow them to score a goal. Good luck. If you are playing a team that has multiple players from the Greater Toronto area, at least one of them has to either score a goal or get booed the entire game. And if your name is Sean Dursey.
Naturally.
Because that was still the funniest thing to ever happen last season.
Yes.
Because he had like 100 friends and family there, and they booed him the entire time. And then he got beat up.
Yeah.
If you have a multi-goal lead going into the third period, you either A, must give it up, B, give it up, then win it back in overtime, or C, give it up, but still win the game. Make it look like you're going to lose, but still win the game in regulation. Or D, all of the above.
Yeah. It's like,
that's it. That's part of what development camp is. And then they also do their like silly little cooking class where they make smoothies.
I love a silly little cooking class. It's so funny. But it's literally written into the contract. You have to make the fans scared. You have to... No, it's written into the contract. You have to give the fans trust issues.
Yeah. 2013, like, Game 7 against Boston is why I have trust issues.
Yep. But no, I'm just so happy for Nick Robertson. I love to see him thrive because so many times I'll go on Twitter and all I see are people being like, bro, what's Nick Robertson doing here? And I'm like, okay, but you're literally like a straight man on Twitter, shut up. I'd like to see you go out there and be teeny tiny little Nick Robertson and like still do everything that he does. I'd like to see you try.
Yeah. Okay, fourth line goal. I'm calling it the fourth line goal because yes, it went to David Kampf, but
it was a fourth line. It was a typical fourth line goal.
It was a typical fourth line goal, and they've been great as of recently. I don't want to credit it to Connor Dewar, but I will credit it to Connor Dewar because they've been great ever since he came along. So
I'm not gonna lie, when you said they've been great, I thought you were like they're theming Connor Dewar.
I was a they them and Connor Dewar.
I thought you were like starting a movement.
Assigned non-binary by the fourth line pod from the fourth line podcast.
I genuinely, for like a worrying amount of time, I was like, did I miss something? Connor Dewar, they them?
They them, Connor Dewar. Yeah. Also, as well, Reaves has apologies to the criticism that I gave Ryan Reaves when we started this podcast. I was very anti Ryan Reaves and very anti Ryan Reaves' contract back in November. I think I was very strong. Yeah. He has turned his game around and is playing much better.
Yeah,
and that's maybe fairness, because he's actually committing to throwing hits. So
yeah, we were very right at the start of the season to be anti Ryan Reaves based on, I won't call it his performance because it wasn't a performance as
his
much
lack
as
of
he
being
was
there.
He was kind of there physically sometimes, but just not. We were right in our criticisms, but he very clearly listens to the podcast, and was like, yes, these two silly little people in my phone are correct. I need to sort myself out. And then he turned his game around because of us. Therefore, you're welcome.
You're welcome, Ryan Reaves. The things we do for you. But yeah, that I was gonna say, Reaves has been slowly earning himself a playoff spot, and this is the problem with having a team that's really good and is still continuing to put together wins and be good while you have key players out. Is it'll be really interesting to see how this all fits back together when Mitch Marner and Cal Yarncroke return from injury. Cal Yarncroke seems to be a little bit farther out than Mitch Marner. We'll talk about Mitch Marner. We have some injury updates from him. But we will see how that goes. And he's been slowly earning himself a playoff lineup spot. And I think I can't remember how long ago, but I do remember an episode that I compared him and his presence in the playoffs to a Wayne Simmons, where it's a very situational if he'll draw into the lineup or not, and it all depends on what physicality you require. And maybe it's a little bit less, I don't know, maybe he doesn't at all draw into the lineup. Who knows how you want to build that fourth line. I think definitely if you are Sheldon Keefe building that fourth line in the playoffs, as much as people want to disagree to me, as much as people do want to disagree about this, I do think of course, yes, you're going to have David Kampf there because he's making $2.5 million. And yes, I know the cap doesn't exist in the playoffs, so you can put whoever it doesn't matter that you are having your healthy scratching $2.5 million or whatever he makes. I still think you need David Kampf in your fourth line because he's your fourth line center. Connor Dewar needs to be in that playoff lineup. And this is not even me being like, I love Connor Dewar. This is me saying you, and I know also as well, like, yes, just because you traded for a guy doesn't mean that he automatically deserves a spot in your playoff lineup, but he does, and he does so much more than I think a lot of Leafs fans recognize, and I think people are slowly realizing what he does, but I know, like, it's so hard to know exactly what the game is like for a fourth line player that you have when you don't actively watch, like, the team, like, you don't actually watch them play hockey. Like, it's numbers, because stats only tell you so much. I'm a firm believer in the eye test, but Minnesota Wild, I've watched quite a few Minnesota Wild games. We know the Minnesota Wild very quickly endeared me, and I very quickly
really
watched.
Wow, and I am shocked by that news.
But Connor Dewar, and, like, I don't know, I feel like I haven't said this yet. I definitely have said this to myself, and I don't think I've said this on the podcast though, or not on Twitter as well. But, like, when the Minnesota Wild were fully healthy, they were running a fourth line that no longer exists on the team because all those players have been traded. But they were running a fourth line that was Pat Maroon, Brandon Duhaime, and Connor Dewar. That was their fourth line. And when they were fully healthy. And then injuries absolutely have decimated this team and still continue to decimate this team. Like, I think it was, like, just this week. Like, literally, at this point, the Minnesota Wild are being held together by Marc-Andre Fleury, Brock Faber, and a dream. Literally. And they're still in the hunt for, they're still somewhat in the hunt for a playoff spot. I don't really know if they actually are, but not really. They're not technically mathematically eliminated yet. We can put it that way.
There's kind of hope on a good day.
But yeah, so, but Connor Dewar, his gameplay for, like, when he was with Minnesota was very strong-mindedly defensive, like, very defensively minded when it, like, as any fourth liner will be. Very good on the penalty kill. Like, very good on the penalty kill. Able to offensively productive on the penalty kill. He's had quite a number of shorthanded goals this season. And not afraid to literally fight someone way out of his weight class or get into scrums. And we've seen this so far with the Leafs. We've seen all of those attributes. But he's somewhere where it's like he brings a very physical game, and I think his stature is very unassuming to a lot of people because they look at his height and weight and they're like, well, you know, he's 5'10". I don't know. He's not afraid to be physical in his game. And I think he's kind of a guy that you want on your fourth line, especially, like, we've seen how strong the penalty kill has been. You know, as much trouble as the power play has been giving the Leafs in terms of goal scoring, the penalty kill has been very, very effective as of late. I think they're 0-18, 0-17 or something like that, which is ridiculous. 18 for 18, like, that's the amount of goals. I shouldn't say, I should say 18 for 18 or whatever. But anyways, that's what I have to say. I have to say, like, the fourth line has only gotten better with the addition of Connor Dewar and more time of this line playing together and building chemistry. So, yeah. Anyways, I'm just very pro Connor Dewar in the playoff lineup, but also at the same time, I also understand that you don't have a lot of, like, you're going to have to take guys out who deserve to be in there because you just have too many good players. And that's, unfortunately, a very lucky problem to have.
Yeah.
To have depth like that.
There could be worse problems. Like, you could
literally could be worse problems to have for an NHL
You could have a lineup of people who should not be playing. Yeah. And you could have no one that should be playing.
What I will say, though, is if you can help it, and I understand there's injuries to the Leafs blue line right now, with Edmondson and Liljegren still being out, and those are like huge takeaways. Connor Timmins is not in your playoff lineup.
No.
Game against Tampa,
Connor.
which we will talk about, proved that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if I just want to say blah, blah, blah. Oh yes, strong goalkeeping from Samsonov, also as well his 100th win of his career.
I know, Sammy.
He did it in 167 games played, which is the 16th fastest in the NHL. In the entire history of the NHL, which is like 800 some goalies, he is the 16th fastest to do it, to reach 100 wins.
Good, Sammy. I'm so happy for him. Look at him go. But I'm like genuinely so happy to see him doing as well as he is after the not so fun start to the season he had.
Yeah.
And it's like,
I will say the players who so the players who trying to okay. I can't. Okay. All right. Sorry. I just want to, I'm pulling this up because I pulled up the stat views and I want to just make sure that these stats are actually like not going to lead me astray. But there are like the names that Samsonov has like beaten out for this. Ottinger. George freaking Vezina. The man who's the best. The man who's who had like the goaltending trophy is named after. These are all like people who have reached 100 career wins in more games than Ilya Samsonov.
Good,
Thatcher Demko. Linus Ullmark. Alexander Gorgiev, Tristan Yari, Visa Toskala, Matt Murray, Andrew Raycroft. I'm just like reading from this list at random. Igor Shesterkin.
Damn.
Ray Emery. Like, I don't. So yeah. Just to show like how impressive what Ilya Samsonov is doing has been. Just some fun stuff there.
Put it into perspective.
Yeah, just to put it into perspective. So yeah, congrats to Ilya Samsonov. He's had an amazing turnaround to a season.
He has.
Fantastic turnaround to a season. Incredible. Yeah. Some injury updates as well. Mitch Marner to return Saturday versus Montreal, Hockey Night in Canada. That is always a fun game.
I'm going to have such a busy Saturday.
Better be in the lineup for this one.
I will fight. I will fight Sheldon Keefe
you can't do this twice.
Hands.
You can't
I will fight him with my bare hands.
He can't do this to us twice.
No. But I'm gonna have such a busy Saturday because I'm moving back to uni. I'm also going to a hockey game. And then coming back from the hockey game to another hockey game. Busy day.
Yeah, busy day. Edmondson was on the ice.
Progress.
So that's a good sign. And the reason why I'm not mentioning Morgan Riley is because he came back against Tampa yesterday, so we'll talk about that game. But also
Logan!
During the game against Florida, because of course Brad Treliving had couldn't be sat watching the game in the press, like he had to be doing something in the press box. That's the thing where I was like, they're literally playing a game right now. But Leafs get hot-toted prospect, NCAA free agent, Jacob Quillen, and they sign him to from Quinnipiac. I think that's how you say that university name. I'm not American, so I don't know. Jacob Quillen to a 2-year ELC. He comes from Dartmouth, Nova Scotia, a good old Maritime boy. In 39 games this season, he scored 17 goals, 29 assists. Very, very good. Wore the A for them as well this year. He also, as well, scored the OT winner in the NCAA National Championship versus Matthew Nyes and the University of Minnesota last season, breaking Matthew Nyes' heart in Amalie Arena.
I thought I recognized his name because I was like, I don't watch college hockey. I watched that game though. The game that shall not be named because I respect Matthew Nyes. I watched that game and I was sat and I was like, I've heard of him. And I was like, but I don't know why. And then I was like, that's why.
Yeah, I know that's definitely a bit. Also, as well, he's been highly talked about highly talked about as one of the top free agent, not free, the NCAA free agents. This time of year, as always, this is a crazy signing time for both NCAA players as well as free undrafted or just NCAA free agents who have been drafted and their time has run. Their 4 years have run out and they're eligible to sign wherever they may please. He's been one of those hot, the top list is also as well. It's a very busy time as well with the CHL playoffs going on as well for those undrafted players to get signed to contracts. So it's been a busy time of the year also as well for Leafs prospects, Fraser Mitten and Easton Cowan, who I believe are both winning their series, their respective series as well, I think. All I keep seeing is that the Saskatoon Blades and the London Knights keep winning those games, so I'm going to assume they are winning those series as well.
Look at him go.
Look at them go. But yeah, this is a good grab for the Leafs as well to be able to snag a highly rated player who a lot of teams were searching after. Leafs and Lightning.
Do we have to?
We have to talk about this game because I used my data to watch this game on the train. So we have to talk about it. So that use of cell phone data was worth it because you know how expensive Canadian cell phone plans are? They are ridiculously expensive.
Oh.
It's like $100 a month. Yeah. Oh no, Canadian dollars too. So maybe that's only I don't know, 50 pounds because the Canadian dollar is shit. But no, it's 70 pounds. But still, yeah, it's $100. I think is
That's $23 a month.
What the?
And
no,
this is
because
why
this is what happens when Rogers and Bell run everything. Do you understand how my life can basically be boiled down to two different grocery store companies, grocers, and two different entertainment everything in my life can be boiled down to two grocery chains, grocery conglomerates, and two media conglomerates. Everything in my life. Literally everything in my life. Because everything I interact with is either owned by Rogers or Bell or Loblaws and Sobeys.
I'm sorry. That's insane.
But you know who? Look, no. I kid you not. And we could talk about. Why not? We're gonna do a long episode, so we can talk about this anyways. Rogers and Bell, they both own the majority of MLSE, Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment, who are also part of which is the ownership group that owns the Toronto Maple Leafs, the team that we talk about the most on this podcast. The teams that the teams that we have given money to. Rogers Entertainment also owns the Toronto Blue Jays, a team I am a fan of, and also own everything. They also, Rogers Entertainment also owns Sportsnet, the sports broadcaster. They also own like I can't remember one of I think it's Global. No, it's Global Bell. Anyway, they own also as well like a cable TV channel, like a Canadian cable TV channel. And then Bell owns not only owns some of MLSE, they also have partial ownership stake in the Montreal Canadiens, have their name slapped on not one, but 2 hockey arenas in the Montreal area. Bell Center, Bell Place, not the same building. Bell Center is where the Habs play. Bell Place is where the Laval Rockets play. For any of you guys ever going to a concert in Montreal, make sure you double check which arena it's in. Because Bell Place and Bell Center, not the same place.
No.
Bell also owns TSN. Yes, Red Company owns Blue Sports TV. Blue Company owns Red Sports TV. Because that makes sense. Bell also owns CTV, which broadcasts all of my favorite shows. Like The Amazing Race and The Amazing Race Canada.
Fan favorite.
We love The Amazing.
Also, I know that no one else will be able to see this, but people just have to understand the vibes. My mum just sent me a picture of a cat and a pineapple.
Oh my god, I love that. Stop.
I will describe it. It is a cat who has the energy of a very relaxed Joseph Wall, with a pineapple on its head, like in a hat, like an actual pineapple. And I now want to cry because
don't do
really
that. We're only like 30 minutes into the episode.
Well, we wanted a longer episode. My breakdown can factor into that.
And then also, it's what Rogers. There's Rogers Center, which is where the Blue Jays play. There's Rogers Place, which is where the Edmonton Oilers play. And then there's Rogers Arena, which is where the Vancouver Canucks play. I cannot escape Rogers and Bell. I can't. Thank you. It's ridiculous. And so they also are our cable TV and cell phone providers. And internet. My internet is Bell. And my cell phone provider is, I'm with Rogers because that's who my mom is with, so I can like be on her plan as like a secondary line. And so then my personal cell phone plan only costs me $60 a month, but it's still like for her it's like $125. She pays a nearly $200 a month like cell phone. Actually, probably more than that because then also my sister is on as another line.
That's insane.
It's ridiculous. And it's because it's only the 2 companies. You're like, oh, you're right. And you can be like, well, what about TELUS? And what about, like, Fido? They're also owned by Rogers or Bell. It's just a different company name.
That's crazy.
Completely. It's stupid. That's what it is. It's stupid. Stupid. And like this is why I also complain about the fact that the Leafs like don't have like a traditional local broadcast, because it's either yes, okay, they can have a regional like TSN broadcast that's still like a national broadcaster, and then they also, or they can be like Sportsnet, which those games are a national broadcast sometimes, like most of the time. Still, like even if it is like regionally, like even if it's a regional blackout game because it's a regional broadcast on Sportsnet. National broadcaster. And this is why I get pissed off, because then the broadcast has to be like Canadian and like not just like Toronto, and then there's no Leafs bias in your broadcast, which like sometimes you want. So
you need
anyways, Leafs and Lightning.
No.
Wool gets the start, which I saw a lot of people being like, why is Joseph Wool getting the start when, like, Ilya Samsonov played so well last game? Because Sheldon Keefe said back when, like, Joseph Wool was, like, coming back and playing more games more regular, like, with, like, 14 games left or something in the season, he was like, they're going to split their games even.
7-7.
He said it himself. That was probably the most straightforward thing he said in the past 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Literally him saying what his plan is to split up the remaining games of the season among his theoretically two goalies, because yes, Martin Jones is still, like, there. He's just not playing. Sorry, Martin. He said he was going to split them up evenly. And it was the most straightforward thing he said in that, like, in the past 2 weeks. Literally, it is. So, like, yes, Joseph Wool is going to get. I'm sure Samsonov is going to start against. Montreal. You don't want to overwork your goalie going into the playoffs.
What happened last time we overworked our goalies? Let's flash back to the 7th of December, 2023.
I witnessed what happened with my very own eyes in person last time we overworked our goal. Like, I'm just saying, Sheldon, like, literally it's the most straightforward thing he said in the past 2 weeks, and people are choosing to ignore it, to be like, because I saw people that were, like, genuinely, like, disappointed that Wool was getting the start. I was like, guys, what are we doing here?
Like,
anyways.
First off, Sheldon's splitting him 7-7. He's got to start some games. Second off, why are you sad that a really, really pretty man is going to be on your screen? Why are you upset by that?
I don't know. I think, like, this. Anyways, I'm like, guys,
people need to learn how to use their brains if they have them.
Yeah, Riley, Morgan Riley, also back into the lineup. What up, Morgan? Welcome back from his undisclosed upper body injury. I still don't know what it is. I still couldn't even tell you what it is, based on, like, Sheldon Keefe, where it was like, well, once he's past it, and it's not a problem anymore. It's not lingering. That doesn't tell me anything. What is it?
I'm not saying that the reason we're not getting suit pics is because he wants to do a big boob drop reveal, but you hit me so much right now.
We can't say this on this podcast.
I mean it lovingly.
That's a DM thought.
It's a thought.
There's podcast thoughts, and then there's DM thoughts. That's a DM thought.
We are allowed to talk about theories.
Didn't we say, like, a couple months ago that we weren't going to theorize on this podcast?
We're not we're discussing theories. Yeah.
Can we talk about TJ Brody on the third line now?
Yeah.
TJ Brody, third pair with Connor Timmins. I thought I would never see the day where Sheldon Keefe would put TJ Brody on the third line, but here we are.
Miracle.
Thank you, Sheldon.
Thank you.
Joseph Wool allowed a goal on the first shot he faced. Now, there was a really... Now, okay, look. Now, this is one of the very few times where, like, Steve Dangle was reasonable, and, like, actually people were like, wait a minute, this guy actually has a good point. That goal maybe technically shouldn't have counted. Because it was on a delayed penalty. And the Leafs never, apparently according to the refs, the Leafs never regained possession of the puck, where literally after the delayed penalty was called, Jake McCabe had control of the puck enough to clear the puck. And thus should have, gotten then the whistle to stop play. But of course, the way the camera angles work, like, the ref who called the penalty and put his arm up was, like, past the blue line, like, was on the other side of the blue line, so we couldn't see him in the camera view, so we don't really know the exact timing. But, like, yes, theoretically, yes, maybe should have never have happened. But I will say, it's one of those, like, and we can be reasonably we are like, we know we're huge Joseph Wool fans, but we're also allowed to be like reasonably. He is always like, yes, he is in this show. He is in the show description as well. Like, we are allowed to be reasonably critical.
Joseph Wool fans? Nowhere.
We are allowed to be reasonably critical of our goaltending.
Yeah.
As hockey fans as well. And I will say,
his finest.
No, it wasn't his finest moment. And we're allowed to say that, like, he can't allow the first shot on net. He can't allow it to go in. And there was multiple goals where he should have had it. There was the Steven Stamkos one where it was a breakaway it was a 2-on-1. And Steven Stamkos, Joseph Wool thought he was going to go for the pass. He ends up going for the shot and goes right through the 5-hole. Like, you have to have that one if you're a goaltender, because it was. You just have to have it. And, like, yes, also as well, the Leafs were going up against Andrei Vasilevsky, who was standing on his head and putting up a fabulous performance. And it felt like he was stopping literally everything except for the Austin Matthews goal to get him to number 63.
We didn't get shut out.
No, we didn't get shut out either. Also, that goal puts Austin Matthews on a 69 game pace. Nice.
We are so mature.
So mature. But also as well, that puts him with 7 goals to go to reach 70 with 7 games left. And he gets Mitch Marner back on Saturday. I say a hat trick against Montreal on Hockey Night in Canada. Leafs versus Montreal in Montreal. Saturday night, Hockey Night in Canada. Mitch Marner returns to the lineup. He assists on every single one. And then we're, 6 games with 4 goals to go? Completely doable.
Easy peasy.
Yes, their last 2 games are Tampa and Florida on the road. But
so what?
There's 4 other games. One of them is against a lot of them are against teams in the playoff hunt, but like also New Jersey is there. So
easy.
And New Jersey lost 6-3 to the Penguins.
Yeah, that I don't want to be mean to New Jersey, but like that is really, really embarrassing. And like I wouldn't show my face ever again.
Yeah, especially like the last empty net goal by Crosby, where he just poke checks it and goes in on Jack. Like, if I'm Jack Hughes, I'm
retiring.
Yeah,
I'm gonna play in Europe
because it's like what 80-year-old Sidney Crosby, essentially out racing me for the puck.
I just cry.
I would cry. But also as well, like it was just no one was playing well. Like defense was making mistakes. Like Connor Timmins looked awful at some points. Passes weren't clicking. Forwards, forwards were going up against a wall with Andrei Vasilevsky. He was fantastic. Yeah, Joseph Wool also did not have a good night. At one point, he was sitting at 3 goals allowed on 12 shots. Like,
Joseph.
I
don't like being mean to goalies.
But, like, also at the same time, that's pretty brutal. That's, like, 75% save percentage.
Come on, Joey. You're better than this. The thing is, so we know I get a lot of replies to my tweets about Joseph Wool from people who are not in the little circle group of people I usually interact with. So I see so much hate towards Joseph Wool, and it makes me so sad because I'm like, okay, yes, he's not playing brilliantly. Like he's having. But the thing is, he's not playing brilliantly, but he's having really good individual moments, like individual saves. But
the big saves are still there.
Yeah, the big saves are still there. So it's not like I see so many people like he's fallen. He's not fallen off. He's like he is. I know he's back and I know he's playing, but he is still recovering from the high ankle sprain, because that's not something that just immediately just goes away. It's something that it might have healed, but it will still bother you and it will still affect you for a while. Like, it's not something that, like, once you're, like, back playing, it's not just going to be like, oh yeah, I'm fine now, it doesn't affect me at all. It does. You're going to have moments where
you don't
like,
trust.
You make a save and you tweak it a bit and you're like, oh, ouch. Like, there's going to be moments where it's just not an enjoyable time for you.
It's not even just, like, retweaking. It's also the fact that it's, like, you have to work on trusting that ankle again.
That's a huge thing, because I know, like...
So it's the trust of, like, knowing that if you put it in a slightly off position, it's still going to be there.
Yeah, because, like, I've not sprained my ankle playing sport, but, like, I broke my wrist playing rugby, and after that had all healed and I went back to playing, I wasn't the same, because I was very worried about the fact that if I break it again, I will not be able to play again, which was a huge thing. So it's like, even though it's fine and I can use it properly, it's the thought of, like, what if you do something and you mess it up again?
Yeah, or mess it up
it's
worse.
It's always that, and it's like, it's obviously gonna affect him mentally as well as physically.
But yeah, just it's and also as well, like, we have a strong. It's not like we, like, don't have a strong goalie for game 1 of the playoffs. In fact, like, is it really that bad of a thing that Sheldon Keefe's decision has been made easier? I'm just saying, because of how hotly of a debated topic this was.
Yeah. I think it's good in the sense that we can identify a starter already, and as well, like,
that means I have to stop hearing this debate on Sportsnet every time I watch a Leafs game. So
peace and quiet. Well, not peace and quiet, because they'll find something else to talk about.
It just means it's something else, but, like, we can stop hearing about this specifically.
But, like, I think that it's what Joseph will need. He needs time, and unfortunately, the time that he needs is not time that we have at the moment. Which
is the thing. Like, he'll have a wonderful summer off, and he'll come back, and, like, that's like what's so, like, I think Leaf fans have to look about it this way. We have Joseph will be sticking around for a while, hopefully as part of the Leafs organization. We will have, he will come, that was very bright in your face, but we will have him come, he'll have a nice, hopefully, you know what, the shorter the off season he gets, the better, in a way, because I don't want to say nice long, I want it to be a short, because that means then the Leafs do well in the playoffs, but he will have an off season, and he will come back in September for training camp, and,
like, and I think the thing is, because it's like, we know from my research and things that he said, he has a really good off-season, like, training, and he has a lot of people back home
who helps him with that,
train with, and who help him, and who work with him, like, the entire summer. So which is not also, like, he's gonna go back and have, like, nothing. Like, he's got a really good system in place.
Which is also, like, not to say that the Leafs have really fantastic, in terms of, like, they have a really fantastic team of trainers and people who do the rehab and that sort of thing, and, like, no diss on the Leafs, but also as well, like, think about, like, he didn't really have total access to, like, the people back home that he uses during the summer to help him recover and get ready for the new season. So, like, positive, guys, we have to, like, yes, we can be, like, reasonably critical of players. We also have to think of, like, the upsides of certain situations, and I think it's an upside as well, and the fact that, like, our backup is Joseph Wool is not a bad thing at all.
No,
there are teams in worse positions.
Is a very good. Like, if our backup is Joseph Wool, we're doing something right.
Exactly. But yeah, fourth line was out a lot. I just have that written. Well, like the fourth line, I don't know. Like, I looked at it. I even like looked at like the game center, like the stat chart, the shift chart. That's my favorite thing to look at, where it's like all the bars, you can see like how the lines and like who played with like who matched up. It's cool. I liked looking at that. Yeah, Sheldon Keefe did put his fourth line out a lot. They were put out in some really weird situations where like they were getting matched up against Florida's top line, and I was like, that's kind of like, yes, also sometimes that's how you want your matchups to work, but also like that was just weird. And I was like, I don't know what Sheldon Keefe's doing. I don't know if he's trying to like outsmart Paul Maurice or not. Like, I don't know what that was like, but that was just something of note, I feel like, because I wrote it down, obviously. Penalty kill was solid. Reaves stepped up, had some big hits early. Not Paul Maurice, John Cooper. I said the wrong Florida coach, but like they are the same person in my mind because they're both equally annoying, and they sort of even look the same too. Am I wrong for thinking that Paul Maurice and John Cooper look the same?
No, I see it.
But yeah, speaking of Ryan Reaves, because we didn't even mention this, post game against Florida, talking to Sean McKenzie on Sportsnet. And he mentions, he's like, is it you that I have, he like says being like, are you the reason why I have to wear a shirt during this? And Sean McKenzie's low-key flirting with Ryan Reaves.
Like,
which like,
why was
me too, Sean.
Why was I blushing it when I was watching that?
Do we need to give you two a room?
Like, do you guys need a minute?
Do you guys need a room? But yeah, Sean McKenzie said that that it was like, no, it's not me that you have to wear a shirt for. If I made the rules, you could go shirt. Like, I was like, okay, Sean.
It's like, okay, you can just say you want him to get his.
You want to get
his boobs.
You can just you can say it. You're allowed. Actually, no, you can't say it that because it's national pride. But and
you can imply it.
And then Ryan Reaves makes says the best thing anyone has ever said about growing the sport of hockey in the past, like, 10 years associated with the NHL. If you want to catch up to the other leagues, you have to let us take our shirts off.
Ryan Reaves.
Put him in charge.
Woman of the people.
Ryan Reaves
He knows what we
Ryan
want.
Reaves for commissioner. Replace Gary Bettman. When Ryan Reaves retires, I think it'd be time to send good old Gary out to the pasture. And you put in Ryan Reaves. That makes it sound like we're going to kill Gary Bettman. That's not true. We're going to send him to retirement. And then you put Ryan Reaves in charge, and Ryan Reaves is going to be like, everyone is wearing see-through MLB jerseys, and everyone is shirtless, and everyone has to do their post-game shirtless, and everyone just is shirtless. Because I think that would be what would happen if Ryan Reaves was in charge, and the only person, and there would be no complaints, and Mitch Marner would be his biggest supporter.
Oh, Mitch would love it.
Mitch Marner and William Nylander would be big fans of going Tarps Off.
Oh my god. They would have the time of their lives.
The only person who I think would be slightly less akin to it would be Mr. Wedding Layering King, Rasmus Sandin.
Well, you know what? You have to adapt to these situations.
He was layered up at Mitch Marner's wedding.
If adapting means taking your shirt off, then that's what you must do.
But also, as well, because then I had people who are like, well, then how come, like, sometimes in post games they can, like, they, like, aren't wearing their shirt, but that, and, like, that's because, like, there's a difference between when it's, like, sport, like, not, I don't want to say Sportsnet exclusive, but, like, one is specifically an interview that is only done with Sportsnet. They probably have, like, different rules where they're like, okay, you gotta put a shirt on, whereas, like, if it's a post game, it's different because that's the team, and that also, like, that gets released by the team.
Yeah.
Whereas, and like, not every time the Sportsnet cover, it's the whole story. Like, remember there was the Austin Matthews interview this season that never was, because he wasn't wearing a shirt, and they were like, dude, it was on like NHL Network or like TNT or whatever, and they were like, dude, you got to put on a shirt. And he was like, I don't have a shirt. And they were like, do you have a towel or something? He's like, does this not work? And they're like, no. And then they just cut away. That was really weird. I remember that.
Upsetting.
Yeah. And then give us what we want, which is just like shirtless hockey players doing post-game interviews. This makes it sound like we objectify the players. No, but also as well, Ryan Reaves makes a very good point.
Yeah.
If Ryan Reaves says it and we agree with him, it's not morally wrong. That actually also is no. Because you can't, this is the NHL. You can't work your politics like that. I'm going to move on and start talking about TJ Brody before I dig myself an even bigger hole.
Yeah, I think that's for the best.
Yeah. I'm so worried you're going to clip that and put that somewhere.
I'm going to don't make me mad or I'll cancel you.
And it's just me saying, like, we should agree with the politics of NHL players, which is so not how no, just because an NHL player says it does not mean you have to agree with. Anyways, TJ Brody getting the belt. I saw a lot of people that were like, who were had very negative reactions to TJ Brody getting the belt. First of all, it was Austin Matthews' decision. He played the game. He knows better than it. Like, whatever, who someone else was more deserving of it. Like, it's not your belt to give. And also as well, TJ Brody did assist Austin Matthews' goal, so like there's a little bit of bias there on that one.
And as well, I think like one of the big things is like, because I have a lot of different opinions on this, like that I can understand. Topic. Yeah, because it's like, yes, were there other people who it could have and potentially should have gone to? Yes, but at the same time, this is Austin highlighting a player for something that they have done during the game. It might not have been consistently good play through the whole game, but it was something good that he did. So
that Austin wants to celebrate, and like also as well, like it's never like it's like the belt isn't for like, let's give it to like the first star of the night. That's not what the belt's for. That's what the 3 stars of the night are for. And sometimes there's an overlap between the 3 stars and whoever gets the belt. Like sometimes that just happens because they have a really good game and obviously they're recognized for that. But like also as well, and it's to highlight certain milestones, and you saw that when they whatever. And I think also as well, like sometimes it's a good morale boost to be like, hey, like we're recognizing you for something good that you did, and maybe TJ Brody needs that right now as a morale boost of like, hey, we see what the work that you're putting out there, keep it up, keep working hard, here you go, good job for doing something well out there. Also, it's not your belt to give away, so like shut up.
Yeah,
that's what I will say. I got really annoyed at people who were like complaining about it being like, oh, that's not a good decision. I'm like, it wasn't your choice. It was Austin's choice, and I'm willing to bet money he knows a lot more about the game of hockey than you do, genius.
Yeah, it's not. It's not an interesting one, but it is at the same time. Like,
be glad that they're winning enough that like we are complaining about this debate where it's like it wasn't interesting enough of a belt giveaway.
Yeah, just be glad they won.
Yeah, be glad they won. Also, as well, be glad that like. Also, think about the fact that like defensemen need to be recognized because it's not all just about scoring goals. Like you can have like no points a night and still put out like a really good game as a defenseman. Yeah. Look at Simon Benoit.
Exactly. Little miss, I might not score goals, but I will hit on these.
I can still lay the hits. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, also, but because the Leafs lost to Tampa in regulation means that they missed an opportunity to clinch I don't know if they can do it idly tonight. I really don't. Like, the magic number for the Leafs right now is 1. They just have to get 1 point, and then they clinch, but I don't know if that situation has changed. I don't know how this works. It's math that I don't understand. I've never once understand how you can. I know it's about points, and it's all about seeing, like, what points are left, and, like, and who, like, and how many, like, how much points you have left to win, and that sort of. I still don't understand it. Still probably will never understand it. I leave it up for NHL PR to tell me when they make those confusing graphics where it's like 7 different clauses, and I'm like, this is a riddle. Yeah, I also just have written down, like, Tampa Bay Lightning have found a way to, like, they shut down the Tavares Nylander line.
Yes.
That, like, it just was a line that just, like, they were clicking because they were making passes. They just, like, Tampa shut them down.
Yeah, Tampa was not having it.
Yeah, Saturday versus Montreal. Mitch Marner slated to return to the lineup. Welcome back, Mitchell. We've missed you.
So much. Please also, never do this again.
Yeah. I cannot go through another high ankle sprain injury with the Leafs. 3 is enough.
I don't want to see another high ankle sprain just ever again.
Never.
We've had enough.
Yeah, and I also have this written down just because, like, just, to show, like, just where we are as Toronto, like, in terms of Toronto sports. Wednesday was the 11th time that the Leafs, Jays, and Raptors all lost on the same day. What am I doing here? I've been cursed. Which is actually, a lot of people are like, I'm surprised it's only the 11th time. Like, people are trying to figure out. But, like, you have to think about the fact that, like, yes, the Raptors and Leafs, like, most of their season overlaps. There's like, only, like, a month and a half. Not even. Sometimes it's just, like, a month, depending on if they make the playoffs or not, of, like, overlap between, like, the Leafs and Raptors and then the Blue Jays. But yeah, Blue Jays not having a good start of their season, and I am not happy, nor am I impressed. And I'm not watching a lot of games right now because the Leafs tend to take precedent this time of year. But also I feel like I'm doing it out of protest until they start hitting more.
Yeah. Good luck to Toronto sports.
So we're not done talking about Leafs or Leafs affiliated. So it was announced on the 2nd. This was a story we talked about last episode, or two episodes ago. We talked about it last week on Thursday about the Newfoundland Growlers and how it was the decision day for them was April 2nd. So the decision came through, obviously, and I'm sure you probably have already seen the news. It was announced that the Newfoundland Growlers will cease operations. The ECHL announced officially on April 2nd that the Growlers will cease operations immediately due to unpaid fees. I'm going to read more from a very brilliant article that was written by a very brilliant Twitter friend of both of ours. We call her Randy, but it's Miranda Dagley via Offside News, which we will leave this linked in the description box below. We love Offside News and what they do.
We do. We are big Offside News fans.
We're big Offside News fans. They do a great job. We'll leave this article linked. She does a great job of putting together, like, oh my god, my roommates just slammed the door. They put it was really aggressive. They do a great job in putting together a really comprehensive piece about the history of hockey in Atlantic Canada, as well as the history of the Newfoundland Growlers, as well as just fully understanding the situation that's going on with the Growlers. And really brilliant, and is a true champion for hockey in Atlantic Canada as well. But yeah, so the news. So it was. So the Newfoundland Growlers, owned by Deacon Sports and Entertainment, has its membership. So it was terminated immediately for failure to fulfill its obligations under the ECHL bylaws. The ECHL statement does not outline the details of this, but this week on 32 Thoughts, the podcast, Elliot Friedman and Jeff Merrick explained that it is due to the Growlers not being able to pay their dues to their NHL affiliates, the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Winnipeg Jets, who have sent players to the Growlers as well. Friedman and Merrick expanded on the explanation given by the ECHL, the Growlers, or money to various people, and they had until Tuesday afternoon's ECHL board meeting to pay their debts or to find a buyer who would. We now know that this did not happen in time. So the reason why the Trois Rivières Lions, which is what we talked about also on Thursday, are also owned by Deacon Sports and Entertainment, and they also own the city. They owe money to the city of Trois Rivières. They were able to find a buyer for this team, handing over a check to the city for $650,000 to begin paying off their debts, and therefore the Lions will continue to exist, but the Growlers will fold effective immediately, which is really upsetting because of just of the lack of. It's a devastating loss for Atlantic Canada hockey and also for the province of Newfoundland as well. Newfoundland and Labrador this is all coming from the Offside News article. The province of Newfoundland and Labrador are now the only province, not territory, but only out of the 10 provinces in Canada to not have a major junior team. The ECHL Growlers were the most professional level of hockey in the province and had a dedicated fan base in St. John's. It is hard to the AHL withdrew the St. John's Ice Caps in 2015 just to be reestablished later that year, and then withdrawn in 2017 once again. And the QMJHL's St. John's Fog Devils lasted a mere 3 years between 2005 and 2008. So why does this keep happening? It's expensive to run a hockey team, unfortunately. The Newfoundlanders face one of the lowest incomes on average across the entire country, and the average income in the province has decreased between 2015 and 2020. Well, those years feel far removed from the world we live in now. It's indication as to why the HL Ice Caps left, and fans of the Growlers have been unable to buy tickets consistently amid a cost of living crisis. You can't really blame them. Also, as well, is the isolation of Newfoundland Labrador. It is the most isolated, one of the most isolated places in Canada to access, specifically the island of Newfoundland, which is where St. John's is located. It is an island. It's so isolated to the point that they have their own time zone, 30 minutes ahead of the rest of Atlantic Canada. And as for it is from St. John's to where the Growlers play to the closest ECHL affiliate. It's a 29-hour drive, and that's if the 7-hour ferry ride from Port aux Basques to North Sydney isn't delayed in any way. And it's also typically only it's a 7-hour ferry. There's beds. It's an overnight ferry. And then as for flying, Newfoundland, Labrador, they're able of handling high plane capacity, but then the weather in Newfoundland is unpredictable. It can be windy, foggy, and snowy, especially in the winter months, and that can make it hard to make plane arrivals predictable and cost-friendly, especially when you have to, oftentimes you're only really playing a game or two in a city, more so, in the AHL and ECHL level, they do, because of how they travel. They don't travel by plane very often. Mm-hmm. They tend to do 2 or 3 game series, but still, it's a lot of travel for not a lot of time. Now, the thing is while there's clear there's truly a dedicated hockey fan base within the province of Newfoundland. They love their hockey. The island of Newfoundland and the province they are Leaf fans. They love the Leafs, and to have a Leaf affiliate there is a huge deal, because and they will probably, continue to they will try to have hockey and try to build a hockey community there as well in the absence of the Growlers. They obviously have at least the facilities. The Growlers, they played in a fairly nice arena, to my understanding. I've never visited their home rink. I have been to the province of Newfoundland and St. John's myself, and it's a lovely place to go and visit. Mm-hmm. Beautiful province. But So what happens to the players? We talked about it a little bit last episode, but for most of them, they will become UFAs. Those who aren't so players who are not signed to NHL or AHL contracts will become free agents. And those who are signed to NHL or AHL contracts will report to those will report to those
teams.
Those teams. Sorry, I'm just trying to find the list from Kyle Cushman. Here we go. So the list, here we go. So, ECHL players. So the list of players who are on the Growlers who are signed to NHL/AHL contracts that will have to report to the Marlies or Manitoba. Florida Panthers is. So Jackson Berzowski, Brock Caulfield, Grant Cruikshank, Isaac Johnson, Neil Shea, Tate Singleton, who is still up with the Marlies, if I believe correctly, right? He just got his first AHL point last week.
Yeah.
Is he still up?
I haven't heard that. I didn't watch the last game. I can't remember what I was doing, but I couldn't watch it.
Keenan's, anyways.
I think he still is.
He has been called up to the Marlies. Keenan Suthers, Tyler Weiss, so those are the forwards on defense. Nolan Dillingham, Nathan Steos, who is a Florida Panthers, signed to a contract with the Florida Panthers, so therefore will report to their AHL affiliate. Johnny Chonik, and then the goalies Dryden McKay and Slava Peska, who we ironically talked about last episode.
Yeah.
But all of the other players on the Growlers roster are now free agents, and also as well, to my understanding, there is a limit for ECHL for other ECHL teams with how many Growlers players they can sign. I think the limit is something I heard on 32 Thoughts. The limit's two, which then limits your options even more if they even wanted to sign those players. So it really sucks because these players are now without a job. Essentially, these guys will get paid until the end of the season, the end of regular season. And my understanding as well, based on 32 Thoughts, what was discussed as well, that they will get paid. Some players will get paid into the playoffs as well. And they also, importantly, will keep their health coverage until June 30th, which is the end of the NHL year. So the hockey season calendar year, I guess I should say, not NHL. But so at least, because that's a big one for a lot of these guys, is the health coverage. So for sure, it sucks. Because it's not just the players who are without jobs, it's everyone. It's the coaching staff, it's the front office staff, it's the arena staff who kept that team running and put a lot of heart and soul and dedication into that team. And it sucks that it was so unceremoniously. It wasn't even, oh, you can finish out your season. It was, no, you're done.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate, which the understanding is that this, it had been a long time that the ECHL was asking for money and being hey, pay off your debts. And they just kept pushing back the deadline. And so suddenly this was the league putting their foot down and being hey, now it's now or never, essentially.
Yeah.
I just want to, so yeah. This is it's just unfortunate for sure, especially just with the growth, it's pretty anti-growth of the game to close to fold a franchise. And I did see a lot of people being well, why doesn't the Leafs just buy out the franchise? And unfortunately, MLSE is still a business and they still care very much about their bottom line. And if it is a result of, the Growlers not paying their dues to this team, they would have to shell out more money. Like, they would be actively losing more money to pick up this franchise because they already are losing money by not receiving their dues. And then on top of that, you have to like pay money to keep the team operational. It's just not viable as a business solution. And hopefully we see the return of hockey to Newfoundland. They deserve they deserve to have a hockey team.
They do.
Yeah, so hopefully they get one. And also as well, it's a huge hit to the development ladder of the Leafs and the Leafs organization. Notably, two players who have come up, friends of the show, yeah, who have come up through that organization, have played with the Growlers, Bobby McMahon and Timothy Liljegren. Now Leafs,
legends.
Leafs, but now they play. Now they are, full when healthy. In the case of Timothy Liljegren, are full time, position players with the Leafs, and Bobby McMahon just signed a contract extension for 2 years. So
he did.
It's unfortunate. I do definitely go. I just gave a very brief overview of Miranda, well, we call her Randy, but Miranda's article. I'll leave a link. I'll put a link to it in the show notes. I definitely recommend that you guys go read it in full and go check out the other work that Offside does. They put out some really great, hilarious, fantastic writing.
Absolutely
brilliant writing. So shout out to them.
I love you, Offside News.
We love you, Offside News. Yeah. I guess we'll talk about New York Rangers and New Jersey Devils. Because that was a game last night that happened.
Is the one and only time I will ever be excited to talk about the Rangers. Because, what happened?
Well, Rangers were playing the New Jersey Devils, and notably those two have had a very recent history of not getting along. A lot of it due to a certain individual by the name of Matt Rempe.
You can say that.
But yeah, there was a full-on line brawl 2 seconds in. 8 guys got ejected. Well, actually, a lot of people were saying 8. But it was 4 guys per, it was 4 guys. Yeah, so 8. Sorry, I can't do math. 8 guys got ejected. So it was all of the starters, and both teams started their fourth lines up against each other, or at least if not their fourth, it was fourth line, and then Jacob Trouba. For the New York Rangers, they were yeah, our fourth line, aka our very physical guys, and then also Jacob Trouba.
Because why not?
Except for Jimmy Vesey and Curtis Lazar, because those guys were deemed to be the first fight. So then, therefore, due to NHL, you can't really eject them. I think it's a rule where it's yes, you can eject. You can't if there's a line brawl, you can't eject the starters, but you can eject everyone else.
Yeah,
I think that was kind of my understanding is because they were because they were declared the first one, the first fighting penalty. They were just given giving fighting majors, and so therefore they weren't ejected, which is great because Jimmy Vesey's on my fantasy team, so I needed the point. I need all the points I can get this week.
Little Miss Vanilla.
Yeah. What do you say about that, Sheldon, eh? It's actually funny. He has if you look on hockey fights, because I was Jimmy Vesey fighting, that always takes me by surprise. And then I look him up on hockey fights every single time, and he has 6 fights, and I was oh, okay. All of them with the New York Rangers.
Surprise!
All of them with the New York Rangers. But yeah. And then there was like another fight like 5 minutes later over a boarding call.
I felt like when I was like watching like tweets about it come up on my timeline, I genuinely, you know, when like you get into trouble at school as like when you're like primary school, and then you have to go home and like sit and just like your parents just kind of like sigh at you and just go,
not mad, just disappointed.
Yeah, that's genuinely how I felt just like watching all this happen. I was like, well, because it was, but like I was just like, what?
Well, because I was watching the Leafs game, right? And so then I'm like scrolling through Twitter, like it was like right before the Leafs games were supposed to start because like, they didn't start right at the same time. And I'm scrolling through, and I'm just seeing like, you know, all of like everyone I follow who was like all the people on Twitter who I follow who are like Rangers or the few New Jersey Devil fans were like talking about this fight. I was like, what is going on? And I see the video then come up, and I'm like, what? That like 2 seconds in. But yeah, so obviously Matt Rempe paired up with Kermis McDermott. Those two have history this season. Here's a fun little stat. So there was the combined penalty minutes was like ridiculous. It was like 162 or something like that in the first period. Stupid. Here's a fun little stat. Matt Rempe has played 5 minutes time on ice. That's his time on ice across 3 games versus the New Jersey Devils. He's been ejected from every single one this season since getting called up.
You know, I respect the commitment.
I respect the commitment to a rivalry. I will say this season, with where the New Jersey Devils are right now in the standings, it feels a little bit like when your bigger, older brother comes back from college and beats up his kid brother.
Yeah. It's deeply entertaining, and I genuinely have to respect Matt Rempe's dedication to just being
the rivalry. Because, like, he's like 6'7". But yes.
Yeah. He's still a little short.
I also agree. Be annoying. I respect it. Guys, like, people were getting mad because they were like, there's a lot of really angry Devils fans on Twitter who were getting mad over Matt Rempe. I was like, guys, respect his ability to be annoying. Because you think about him. You now know his name. Think about it. Like, you talk about him now. He's in your head. He's
rent-free.
He's rent-free, living rent-free up there. And maybe I'm saying that because, like, you know, yeah, sure, okay, Ryan Reaves fought him. Whatever. Like, he wasn't that big of a thorn in the side for the Leafs when the Leafs played the Rangers. But, like, dude, I don't know why people are so pressed about this. Like, Devils fans are so pressed about this. And I also know that, like, you knew something was going to happen. You can see a lot of people are going to be like, you can't tell me this wasn't planned beforehand. Whatever. You know, based on history, but that these two teams have this season, that something was going to happen. You know tonight it's Sens and Panthers. You know something is going to happen because Matthew Tkachuk is back in the lineup for Florida, and he's going up against his brother. And this is like Brady's last bout before he's a dad, and then he has to think about the fact that he's a dad. I'm sorry. Just imagine, like, I'm sorry. This is like totally off shot, but like imagine like you're a kid and you just like watch on like a regular basis like your dad beat up your uncle. Like your dad and your uncle just like beat each other up.
Speaking of the Sens Panthers game, to absolutely no one's surprise,
hasn't it already started?
2-0 down.
I forgot what time it was for a second.
Brady Tkachuk's being beaten by his little brother.
There was already a fighting penalty?
Matthew Tkachuk's got an assist.
Oh my god. I always forget. No, Matthew's the older one. Matthew is the older one.
He is.
I was like, wait a minute, getting beamed by... I was like, no, Matthew's the older one because he's Mitch Marner's draft class.
Yeah, no, I don't know why I always...
He's part of the 2015 narrative.
I assume Brady's older because he looks just more aged.
Because he's the one having a kid first. No. Matthew's older because he played on the Knights with Mitch Marner.
Yeah, no.
Brady is younger because he played on the same world. He played junior hockey with Joseph Wool, and then he played on the World Juniors with Quinn Hughes.
I don't know why I keep...
And Joseph Wool.
Like, I know.
And Jeremy Swayman. And Jacob. That team was ridiculous. Look at the roster for the 2018 Team USA World Juniors team. Ridiculous.
Insanity. But like,
insanity. All of them are playing pro hockey right now. Every single one of them. All of them. All of them are playing pro hockey.
Look at them go.
Kiefer Bellows is with the Marlies. All of them are playing pro hockey.
Kiefer Bellows, I love you.
All of them are playing. That's the thing. I look at that roster. I'm like, what is this? Insanity.
Every single time that I see Kiefer Bellows, I think about that time that I was so sleep deprived and writing an essay that I accidentally referenced him as a political scientist. Kiefer Bellows is very much not a political scientist. And he did not talk about the Roman Empire. But I said he did, and then I only realised when I was going through and proofreading it. And I was like, hang on a minute. Why is Kiefer Bellows in my essay on the Roman Empire? What are you doing here, girl? So that was a fun time.
The thing about that 2018 like Team USA World Juniors team where you look at that and you're like, that team is ridiculous. They still lost that year.
Yeah.
To Team Canada.
They were just prepping Joseph Woll to be a Leaf. They were getting him ready.
For disappointment.
Yeah.
But yeah, and of course, obviously as well, like when you have a line brawl like this, it obviously opens up fighting in the NHL. It opens up that discourse. It happens every time. It's a can of worms. There's nuance to it. And we talk about it every time about how there's nuance in it and about how like fighting is so ingrained into the sport of hockey that like, I want to say, yes, get rid of it. I really do for the health and safety of players, but you can't. And this isn't me being a hard ass. This isn't me being like a hard nose. Like back in my day, you know, when I was we had brawls all the time, you know, like Ty Domi, blah, blah, blah. Like, right. But it's unfortunate that like, you can't, it's so deeply entrenched, but you can make it safer and you can discourage it, put measures into place so that it's discouraged. That's stronger penalties, more ejections, more game misconducts, whatever. And also as well, after like the first like 5 minutes of the game, literally after the first period, there was, if you look at like the game recap, there was like 2 penalties and they were like tripping, slashing, which you're going to have anyways in any game. Like it was like once they got that out of their game and they took the guys off like they ejected those guys, it was actually like, and like everything calmed down. It was a fairly calm, at least I don't know what it looked like. I didn't watch the game, but like in terms of looking at like the penalties and the stats after the game, fairly quiet, I'd say.
Yeah, it seemed to be a pretty,
in terms of trips to the penalty box, but that's what I'm saying. Like that's, you knew this was going to happen. There's a lot of people being like, oh, I didn't, you know, it came out, this is obviously planned, like 2 minutes. You knew this was going to happen eventually in this game because of past history.
Yeah.
That's hockey. Anyways, I also did want to talk, like, I always did want to talk about the New York Rangers this episode because of their hot run that they're on right now and just how well they're doing and how they potentially could make a run. About how not run, but they're projected to win the President's Trophy, if I am not if I'm not mistaken, as well, right? Well, they're at 106. I have to look at the West. Yeah, they are currently winning the entire. They have the best record of the entire league right now. And then this game happens, and I was like, I have even more of an excuse to talk about the New York Rangers. They've already clinched the playoffs. They're 8-2-0 in their last 10. They're 5 points up from Carolina in the East for the best of the East. In the Metro. And then they're 3 points up on Boston for the entire Eastern Conference. And then they're 1 point up on Dallas for the Presidents. Dallas, another team that's been sneaky good recently. They're sitting 1 point back. They're sitting 1 point back from the Rangers for the President's Trophy, which they didn't have a great start to their season.
No.
So they've totally turned it around for them. And I think a lot of that helps that they have some really good players on their team. But yeah, they've passed Vancouver in the West. Yeah. Crazy. A lot happens on the West Coast when you don't stay up late to watch the games and you like look at the standings. Like you look at the standings like every week, like once a week, and you're like, whoa, well, a lot of changed over here. When did this happen? Yeah. But yeah, also as well, their schedule is fairly interesting because they could spoil a lot of teams' playoff hunts, specifically just because they play Detroit and the New York Islanders. They are now in the position where they can play spoiler to other teams.
Yeah.
And Philadelphia, I have Philadelphia in there, but Philadelphia is pretty, like, securely in that. Actually, no, they're not. No, they're not. Sorry, my mistake. They could play spoiler to Philadelphia as well in terms of sticking in the Metro because they are only 1 point ahead of the Caps, which leads me into my next topic that I wanted to talk about, which was the tight race for the second wildcard spot in the East. Well, actually, that was probably one of my very smoothest topic transitions.
Yeah, well done.
I'm so proud of myself for that one.
You should be. Well done.
Yeah, it's a tight race for the second wild card. Did I say World Cup? I meant wild card. Oh my gosh. Wild Cup. Can you tell that we're nearing hour 2 of the show?
Yeah, you can tell because I've just said that Matthew Tkachuk's the younger brother. That's how you know I'm tired.
But yeah, for the second wildcard spot in the East, it's very close. Actually, now I'm going to slot in. Now I'm going to slot in Philadelphia in there because they can play mixed to that as well because they could lose their spot in the Metro to Washington if they stay hot. Washington, Detroit, New York, Islanders, and Pittsburgh are all within 3 points. Wildcard 1. Sorry, I have to go back to the standings. It's not in the same tab. The first wildcard spot kind of out of reach. Tampa is more so closer to the Leafs. So you can throw Philly in there as well. They're all within. If you add in Philly, all within 4 points. If you don't include Philadelphia, they're all within 3 points of each other. Sidney Crosby is desperately trying to drag the Pittsburgh Penguins to the playoffs on his sheer force and will.
He has got the rest of that team by the scruff of their neck, and he is dragging them through mud, through rivers, through, I don't know, over mountains. I think of other difficult terrain.
Yeah.
He is single-handedly trying his best.
He's like, I will get this team to the playoffs if it's the last thing I do. Washington is the only team with a game in hand. They have played one less game than the rest of those teams. And a couple of each other play each other to close out the season. One of them being, this is a big one to watch tonight, and I'll probably turn it on when we're done recording, is Washington to Pittsburgh. That's a huge game with some huge connotations because if Washington wins, they firmly drag themselves further up into into that second wild card spot. If the Penguins win, that will throw them in. That will tie them with the New York Islanders, and then that will bring them within 1 point of Washington. It could be down.
So
it could be down to the final game for Pittsburgh yet again to see if they make it into the playoffs.
And we know how well that ended last year.
They lost to Chicago, and then the Panthers made it into the playoffs and went to the Stanley Cup final. That's how crazy it is. You know what else I also think about as well? All the time. I think about this all the time.
Me.
Yes. But also, if Pittsburgh had won that game against Chicago and had made it into the playoffs, they would have played Boston. Would Boston have, odds are, would have beaten Pittsburgh? Would the Leafs have beaten Boston? Potentially. Who knows?
We will never know.
We'll never know. But, and then they also as well would have, who knows? And then would Kyle Dubas still be with the Leafs? That's where I'm like, the what if connotations of that one singular game
it's all Chicago's
Penguins
fault.
versus Chicago is huge.
It's all Chicago's fault.
Like, they would have had also as well, I think them winning that game reduced their chances for Connor Bedard. And so I think then they swapped with like either Anaheim or like San Jose or something like that along the bottom. Like them winning that game also like swapped them around there. And so then the what if situations. I think about that all the time. That's what I think about all the time. I just threw my pen. I just threw my pen across my keyboard.
It's a very dramatic conversation topic.
I talk with my hands when I get excited, and I was very excited about this topic, as you can tell. But yeah, who like also as well, like I have this written down. So if the standing stays is in the Metro and Carolina does not catch up to New York, which both teams are playing very well right now, whoever's in that second wild card spot will play New York, and will play the Rangers in the first round. And so I have here here's who is deserving of that second wild card spot. I don't think deserving is the right word. I just think like, who do you think is actually going to be able to pull it off? Because a lot of those teams lost on Monday night. So I have to ask you, who do you think it's going to be? I'm throwing this question on you and giving you not a lot of time to think about, but like, don't think, just who is going to be that second wildcard team in the East?
I genuinely don't know. Like, because I've been thinking about it. And I can't make my mind up. Are you laughing at what I was laughing at earlier?
I don't know what you're laughing about earlier, but I'm about to... Sorry, Sorry, the Minnesota Wild just posted a video.
Oh? Oh.
Anyways, let's who do you think it is before I cry?
Wait, no, because now I'm crying. I mean, in my heart, my answer will always be the Buffalo Sabres, but I am also incredibly delusional. toilet paper. Oh, so this is what happens when we reach a 2-hour-long podcast. We completely break down.
Anyway, sorry. Back to my hot topic question that I did not give you any time to prepare for because I did not put it in the show notes.
Yes, you sprung this on me.
I did spring this. I keep doing that. I keep springing these questions onto you. But yeah, who is deserving in your eyes?
I mean, for narrative's sake, I'm gonna have to say our good friend Sidney Crosby.
The Penguins?
Yeah. And that's also just because as painful as it is, I do enjoy watching them from time to time. And as well,
Michael Bunting gets the playoffs.
Yeah. We get Mikey Bunting in the playoffs.
We get Mikey Bunting in the playoffs, which is a joy to watch, a joy to witness.
And also, this could be...
Oh, don't say it. Don't you dare say it. Don't...
No, Emma, you sprung this question on me. I'm answering the question you just sprung on me. You are going to sit there and you're going to listen to my answer. This could be Sidney Crosby's last chance. Thank you for listening to this episode, guys. There will be no third episode.
Because
Emma has died.
No. Yeah. Between the Minnesota Wild video and this, I'm done. No more. I can't do this anymore. Why did I have to go with hockey? I could have picked any other. I could have solely stuck to ski racing, and my season would be done, and we'd be done. There'd be no more ski racing.
You could have picked British field hockey. Your life would have been so much easier.
Sure.
You could have chosen to support my current team.
Sure. Because that is just as fine.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, after everything I've said to you, I think it'd be just as emotionally draining as...
I could have stuck to only watching ski racing. Yes, I would have had to wake up at 5 a.m. to watch races live because so many of them take place in Europe. But also as well, the season would have been over 2 weeks ago, and I could just be enjoying Michaela Schifrin and her dominance, because she's crazy and superhuman and insane.
Yay!
Yeah.
So to answer your question,
I didn't even answer my own question because this is I wrote this at work today, and I was like, oh, it's giving me something to think about while I'm at work. And I still don't have an answer because I kind of looked at their schedules and some of them have easy I don't know, maybe Washington I don't know, they have, I think I'm saying Washington primarily because they have a game in hand and Ovechkin's really hot right now and Dylan Strome is really hot right now and that team seems to be firing on all cylinders. Okay, you know what, well, talking about his stick. But yeah, so, and I don't know, the thing is it's which retirement home will, but I will say if the New York Islanders make it into the playoffs, that means we are free from shaven Pierre Engvall. We are saved from clean shaven Pierre Engvall because then he will be able to grow a playoff beard because that is Lou Lamoriello's rules.
Scares me.
It's not natural.
It's not.
It's not okay. He shouldn't be that hairless because there's even no hair on the rest of him. I can say that because he walks around so much without a shirt that I think I have a very good visual of what his abs look like. His 8-pack.
Which, not the worst view.
His perfectly chiseled shoulder muscles. That one video. We all know the one video I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Where he walks in. Greek god.
And it's oh, hello.
Greek god Pierre Engvall on his 7-year contract. Why is he on a 7-year? I will still never understand that contract.
No.
Never understand it.
Still baffles me.
I saw it and I was like, Lou Lamoriello, what are you doing? Lou Lamoriello, have you ever seen Pierre Engvall play a game of hockey?
I mean, evidently not.
Apparently not. Was
in the nicest way possible.
No. In the nicest way possible, I think Lou Lamoriello sometimes is a dumbass.
Sometimes he's just charmed by muscular men.
Who isn't? Welcome to the club.
Happens to the best of us.
Guilty as charged.
Yeah. Oh, no, you got me.
Oh, no. Lou Lamoriello. Him and I, we're not so different, him and I.
He would love hockey twin.
Oh, yeah. Actually, no, probably not, because we routinely freak out about players' facial hair. And also, as well, they also have to, like, I think they're not allowed to, like, have long hair. It's, like, I think it's fully, he goes, like, New York Yankees rules, which is stupid, because it's, like, you're the little brother team, so it's not even, like, it's, like, your baseball equivalent. Your baseball equivalent is the Mets. He did it with the Leafs too. It's why there's like those series of those like really weird, freaky headshots of Morgan Riley where I'm like, you should not look like that. You look like an infant. He also was very young, but it's like you look at any of the headshots from like the Lou Lamoriello era of the Leafs, and it's like weirdly unnerving for a lot of guys who I'm like, no.
Like, you should not look like that.
No, you should not.
You should have more hair.
Yeah, also as well, I have just written down here, Kyle Dubas, certified stats nerd, and also will clap back to people on Twitter.
He's one of us.
My question is,
just like we
do. My question is, does Kyle Dubas have a meme folder on his phone?
Yes.
Because it wasn't a GIF. He didn't use a GIF. He used a still photograph. He used a reaction meme, which leads me to the question, did he Google like, you sure about that, on like Google Images, and then like saved it to his camera roll, like tried to like copy the GIF and was like, I'll copy the GIF and then I'll paste the GIF. But because when you copy and paste GIFs, it only copies the first frame as a still image, which is really, really handy when you're looking for reaction images and you only get the GIFs as search results. But yeah, and then or does he just have like me, a very large reaction meme like folder? Like my hockey one is like 700 pictures, I think, at this point.
Choices.
Yeah, I have one for every single situation. I can probably communicate purely based on reaction memes. But I do want to know, does he have a meme folder? And if so, can I look at it? I want to look at Kyle Dubas's meme folder. I want to know I want to know if he has memes like of himself.
With the phones?
Well, that was his Twitter icon for a while.
Yeah. He still has that in like his little liked folder, liked photos folder. Yeah.
But like, does he, like, how many memes? It's just himself. Like, that's what my favorite thing is. Like, if I someday aspire to be famous enough where like I can have a meme folder saved on my phone where it's myself. Like,
yeah.
No, it's Cal.
No, it's just Cal.
But I like, that's what I want to, that's what I hope to achieve. Mm-hmm. When like I am the meme, but like in a good way.
Yeah.
Like, no, not like
if I was famous and there were like reaction memes of me, I would be so
I would use them. I would use them.
Like, I'd see a tweet and I'd be like, oh,
it's
what
me.
What Marcie reaction meme are we going with today, lads?
But that's the thing, like I would use them. Like people would text me and I'd use them to reply to them. Yeah. I'd be annoying like that. I'd be like, yeah. Like that's what I think about. Like I have like a huge folder that's just purely like BuzzFeed Unsolved reaction memes.
Of course you do.
Yeah, Cal has it, and sometimes Cal uses them against me. But, like, that's the thing that I always wonder. But, or, like, does Kyle Dubas use that one from 30 Rock? I think it is 30 Rock, where it's like, what is Brendan Shanahan doing in the garbage? Do you think he ever used that after he got fired?
I hope so. I really hope he did.
So funny. Also, as well, the last thing I have to talk about, because it's the last thing, but it was announced today that the PWHL today announced their trophy that will be awarded to the winner at the end of the season after the playoffs. It is named the Walter Cup after the Walter family. Which the Walter family, mostly Mark Walter, bankrolled the PWHL. He built the foundation, whatever. He said that it is, Malk said that this is the thing where it's really where I'm like, apparently it's supposed to like represent like his wife, Kimbra. Why don't you name it the Kimbra Cup? That's the first time I've said it out loud. I've written it down, but that's the first time I've said it out loud because I was reading the press release at the office. Oh, that rolls off the tongue so nicely. The Kimbra Cup. Oh,
Beautiful.
Oh.
The PWHL needs to hire
missed opportunity because the Walter Cup sounds dumb and stupid, and I don't like how that feels in my mouth. Bad mouthfeel. Bad mouthfeel. I don't want to be
mean, but like the Walter Cup sounds like something you'd win in golf.
No, it does. That's the thing where I'm like, is there a registry for like trophies and stuff? Because I'm 95% sure like the Walter Cup already exists somewhere. But maybe just because it's like a white man's name that like, so like that's like basically every single trophy like in sports. But yeah, so I don't know. I just like, I'm like, this is the thing. Also as well, like in the press release that the PWHL put out, it said like, it was like Mark Walter speaking on behalf of his wife and daughter. I was like, dude, really? This is what we're doing? Let women speak. Yeah. I'm like, can't you, like, if it's a statement that was sent out, like if it was like not actually like said, you know what I mean? Where I'm like, if it was, there wasn't a press conference, it was just like a statement, you very easily could have said from Kimbra and Samantha Walter, the wife and daughter of Mark Walter. Anyways.
Yeah.
That's the thing where I'm like, I know it's supposed to represent like Kimbra and Samantha. Literally, name it Kimbra, the Kimbra Cup. That sounds sick as fuck. I'm using my F-bomb there because it does. Like that just, it has such good mouthfeel. I'm sorry, I'm so obsessed with saying it now. I'm so obsessed with
what if we
Kimbra Cup.
Movement?
And we just call it the Kimbra Cup. We don't call it the Walter Cup. We call it the Kimbra Cup. I'm having too much fun with Kimbra Cup. So you get even the alliteration there. The alliteration is there. It's perfect. The PWHL, for as much success as it has had this season, and its inaugural season, just missed opportunity after missed opportunity after missed opportunity.
Yeah.
Also as well, like especially because after getting rid of like the Campbell Cup and the Isabel Cup for the previous two professional women's hockey leagues that we've had in North America, like to go from like those and like those were sick and those were cool. Like yeah, the Isabel Cup like is named after Isabel Stanley, like Lord Stanley's daughter, Isabel. See, you can do it. You can do it.
Exactly. You can.
But also as well, so more about the actual like physical trophy. It's in collaboration with Tiffany & Co. So then there's a whole spiel about Tiffany & Co. as well. But they've collaborated with Tiffany & Co. in the design to represents the house's nearly 2-year history of designing and handcrafting some of the world's most revered sports trophies. The angular design of the Walter Cup is inspired by ice with a nod to the 6 original teams in the league. The Walter Cup weighs approximately 35 pounds, which apparently is heavier than, stands 24 inches tall and over 13 inches wide, which, would you like me to put that in metric? Okay. For you. I'll do this for you. I realize, you know what is really fun? I'm like, for a league that has 50% of its teams located in Canada, I'm surprised they didn't put the metric conversion right there in the press release.
Yeah,
that's all I'll say. Like, yes, we do. Like, in terms of something like that, I'm like, I know what 24 inches looks like. I know what 13 inches looks like because we use that, like, what Canada uses to measure things is very, very strange and is a mix of metric and imperial, and it makes no sense. And then we also do like, oh, if you're driving somewhere, we only talk in and time and not actual like distance. So anyways, so
yeah, we do that
24
too.
So it's 60 centimeters
Okay.
by 33. So it's like 2 feet tall, just over 1 foot wide. That's a really strange scale for a trophy. Wow, that's very strange scale. I gotta look at that picture again. Sorry. Oh, I think it's like the whole width of it. I don't think they're talking about the width of the base. I think they're talking about like the so that's the space, like, because I was gonna say because it like has like a kind of like triangular design, like it goes outwards from the base. Because I was like very confused. I was like, that's weird dimensions, weird scale. Like it's like 2 to 1. It's I don't know. It's just kind of like it's weird. You know what I mean? I'm like, that's
It's like
that's a little strange, but. Features a removable base that will include the engraved name of each year's winning team. The trophy is made of sterling silver and crafted at the Tiffany Hollowware Workshop in Cumberland, Rhode Island. Yeah, and then it's got like all these different like meanings and stuff like that. I don't know how I feel about the removable base, where it's like, so like each year, like when a team wins it, they'll remove the base and put a new base on. I don't like that. The thing I like so much about the Isabel Cup, and the thing that I liked so much about the Stanley Cup, is that you like all the teams are on there. That's like my favorite part about it. That's what I love so much about like, and even the trophy for the Indy 500. It's like it's got the faces of all the previous winners, which is a little bit creepy because it's like busts of their face.
It's like, ooh, they're all staring at you.
Yeah, it's a little weird, but like it's still cool because it like recognizes all the previous winners, whereas like trophies like for the NFL and NBA, it's like, oh, it's just a trophy like with a football on it. Ooh, whatever. Like it's not, it's like whatever. Like there is only one, like, okay, actually no, that's a lie. There's 3 Stanley Cups. But like there's only one like true Stanley Cup, right? There's like the Stanley Cup, and then there's a couple of like backups.
Yeah, there's a couple of Stanley Cups,
and then there's the Stanley Cup. Right? And like that's what's so cool. There's only one, and no one is really truly like, no team truly owns the Stanley. It just gets, you pass it, like that's what makes it like the greatest trophy in sports, in my humble, very biased opinion. Right?
No, yeah, it's like it needs the, it's missing the vibe.
It's missing the vibe. I don't know. It's like, this is just me being like, it's very trophy. They're like, this represents this represents this. I'm like, sometimes a really good trophy is just a trophy. Like the Stanley Cup is just a bowl. But like, anyway, this is me being all, I'm just very critical also of like the name. It's a cool trophy. They worked with Tiffany & Co., which is a cool blue box. You know, the Tiffany blue box. Ooh. Yeah, like, ooh. You know what? The little carrying case for it, because I'm sure it'll have a carrying case, make it Tiffany blue.
Please.
Make the carrying case for the trophy, like, because I know it's going to have a carrying case. Make it Tiffany blue.
Go big or go home.
If you're going to work with Tiffany, you might as well go all the way. But yeah. That's all I've got to say. That's our little PWHL. The regular season goes until May 1st, and then we have the playoffs after that. Toronto is doing really well in the PWHL right now, but also as well, there is no PWHL games on at the moment because they are on their international break for the Women's World Cup that is taking place. That's really exciting. Go Team Canada. I think they have a pretty stellar lineup, as they do every single year. There is no shortage of female hockey talent in this country.
Yeah.
So I'm very excited. It's like, it's one of the thing where it's like every year there are people where you're like, oh, should have been on the roster. Like there's no one that like, and that's what's crazy. That's what's crazy. But I think we're going to end it here unless you have anything else to add.
I have one statement, and that is because I'm making a statement.
You saw my...
My statement is just, Brock Besser is very pretty.
Was that your statement?
Yeah. So I saw a picture of him like 5 minutes ago, and I haven't stopped thinking about it. That was my statement. Thank you for listening.
Brilliant statement.
Thank you.
Well, with that,
I put a lot of thought into it.
It was a great statement. So moving. I feel so moved.
I can see the tears in your eyes.
With that being said, I think we'll end it here. A long one for us. I'm looking at the time. We've been recording for 2 hours, but there is some parts we have to cut out. But I think we will have maybe hit 2 hours, which is kind of crazy.
Oh my god!
But last episodes was really short, so you get like the same amount. You get like it's the same amount of like content in a week, just in different sizes. But with that being said, thank you so much for listening. We will be back on Monday after the Leafs play Montreal on Saturday. Mitch Brenner's return. You can follow the show on Twitter at From the Fourth Line. That's fourth with the number 4th, and you can follow the show wherever you get your podcasts, and also as well YouTube. Slowly getting that's on me again. That's on me.
They'll be up on Tuesday because I've decided I'm not going into uni on Tuesday, so I'll get it all done then.
Okay, so then I have the weekend to put them up on the drive.
Yes.
Teamwork. You can follow me on Twitter at PearB1. You can follow Marcie on Twitter at 60Leafs. And we will see you guys next episode. Thank you so much for listening. Go Leafs go. And
go
bye-bye.
Leafs go. Goodbye.